For my art journal page this week, what I decided to use were pastels. And I cannot tell you how much fun it is to use these babies. You can get these. These are just crayons. You can get these at Walmart. They're very, very inexpensive. But it is so much fun to be able to interact with the textures on the pages when you're using them. You can see as you're looking at them that mine get used a good bit. But it's awesome how you can take different colors and as you're applying them, you can mix them together and it can really give your creativity just this incredible outlet to try and do all sorts of different things. So let me encourage you, if you get a chance, run to Walmart. You don't even have to get the big pack like this. They have a pack that's about half this size, and it's only a couple dollars. So it's really not that much to have some deep fun as you're processing the truth in Genesis 6 through 9. And oh my goodness, are there ever truth to be processed this week as you're going through and looking at that? So I'll just give you a picture of mine. Because what stood out to me as I was just meditating on this was it talks in Genesis about how when the flood happened, the waters covered all of the earth and were way above the top of the highest mountain. Now, can you imagine what it would be like to have water over the entire earth to the depth that it's covering the highest mountain? And here's your boat. Here's your ark. And even though the ark is the size of a football field, in light of the entire earth, that is pretty small, pretty tiny. And yet to think that still God remembers and always keeps his promises. So I did a picture over here, and I have a little bit of fun. I YouTubed origami dove, and I origamied a dove. And just that idea of the dove flying out over the waters, looking to and fro, and the first time not finding anything, and the second time flying out, looking to and fro, and then finding something and bringing a sign, the first sign of life back, and how that would have to be because Noah was on this ark. He and his family, okay, it rained, it poured for 40 days and nights, like we sing in the song, but you know something? They were on there way longer than that. And can you imagine that first sign of life as it came to him? The hope that it must have brought to him. That idea that even though they're so small, and if you've ever been out in the ocean, I grew up with my family sailing, and there were times we would sail out beyond where you couldn't see anything, and you really do realize how small you are and how vast the ocean is when you're out and there's no other boat and you can't see shore or anything else, and to realize how big God has to be to have created everything and then even to have orchestrated this huge catastrophe. And yet he's remembering you. And what an encouragement that had to be to Noah's heart, especially when you think about as they come off of the ark right here. Well, back up just a little bit. Have you ever thought, what was the first sin after the ark? When they got off of the ark, when did it happen? We're actually told in the Bible, because remember, to do what God says is obedience. And it's saying, I love you to him. To not do what God says is disobedience. That's sin. It's missing the mark. And you actually see at the end of this story, God, when he's telling Noah, it's time to come out, God gives Noah a set order for leaving the ark. He says, you, your wife, your son, your son's wife, and then the animals to come off of the ark. But that's not the order they come off, is it? Instead, the order that they exit is Noah, his sons, then his wife, and then his son's wife, and after them the animals. Why? Why didn't he do it exactly the way God said it, because over and over we see in the preceding chapters, it states Noah did all that God commanded him to do. But here, we see it not happen. That's an interesting thing just to ponder and to think, why would he have given his son precedence by letting them come out before his wife? Could it be that he was placing his hope for this new world in the next generation? And I don't know. We're not told. We're not given that. But we do know that the first time we really see in here Noah not doing what God tells him to do. And can you imagine how that would feel? Okay, imagine all the wickedness, all the wicked people, the injustice, everything. The slate has been wiped clean by this flood. And you've gone through this flood, and God has preserved you and your family. And you're getting to step foot off of that ark onto a whole new world that is just ready for you. Ready for you to make your mark. And what's that first mark? One that misses what God asked you to do. And then as you go on, maybe you get impatient with your wife, or you're short with your son, or there's an argument that takes place, and you're like, the evil wasn't just out there. God wiping out everything out there. He didn't take care of the problem. It's Romans 3:23. All have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. Do you realize people are always asking, if God's so powerful, why doesn't he just take care of the wickedness in the world? And how can there be evil in the world? See, this is the thing. For there to be no evil in the world, God had to completely wipe every single human being out, because evil's not something that's just out there. It's something that comes from within. That sin nature, that flesh is still alive and kicking. And the moment they emerge from that boat, there it is. That's why the answer isn't just to clear out all the evil and give us a new slate to start with. Every single one of us eventually would do the same thing. That's why we needed someone. We needed God himself to come down and to save us, not just from evil, but from our own sin and the consequences of our own sin, and to set us free. And we're going to look at that a little bit more this next week. But for now, I want you to just think about what it would be like to be Noah, and you've realized what it's like. You do not have control. You've been on this boat. You could not control how long you were on there. You could not control where the boat was going or what it was doing. You couldn't control when it would stop, when the waters would recede, when it would come down. None of that is under your control. And then you come out and you realize, I can't even control blowing it and disobeying God. And then you start to see that sin multiplying. Maybe as your boys fight, or as there's dissension, or there's problems, or there's frustration, and you just realize the sin in the world is here because of us. Is there any wonder when he created a vineyard, he maybe got really drunk? It's a way of numbing, trying to numb that pain. And then instead of helping, that only makes it worse, because then his son sees him and mocks him. And then what happens? He ends up cursing his grandson. Do you see family issues multiplying, these problems happening? And God knew all of this was going to happen. And yet God still remembered and kept his promise. And speaking of his promises, okay, I just have to say, this is one of my favorite pictures of God's love, because it really is a picture that we're given. That's what a rainbow is, a picture of God's love. Because imagine you're Noah, and you know that God is not soft on sin. He doesn't shrug his shoulders and say, oh, it's no big deal, I love you. No, you realize because he is a holy God, there is wrath that come as a result of seeing sin and seeing what's happened and the judgment of God that's coming. Can you imagine After Noah comes out, he realizes, I failed it. And he's seen the sun multiply. How he would feel the next time that it rained if God hadn't given the picture of a rainbow to remind of his promise that he would never destroy the earth again. Can you imagine what this is like? So let me just encourage you. This is an incredible picture of God's love. God saying, I've got you covered. Have fun creating your page and what stood out to you.